We got kicked out of the church. You're not approved. You can't read the Bible. That's not approved. I thought, what is this? You can't read the Bible when you go to church? Nope, that's not approved. You can't read the Bible. You can only do the doctrine we teach you. So we embarked on a mission really to explore all of the text. And you know what we found? When you go into the Christian church, you typically get a small as your instruction. Here's your small pablum for the day. You get one little spoon. In the Catholic Church, it's a wafer, but you get this one little spoon, and that's it. Go home. Well, wait a minute. I'm starving for the word. Can you tell me? I've got questions for you. What about this? What about, you shouldn't be reading the Bible. If you weren't reading the Bible, you wouldn't have those questions because I could just tell you what to think and what the answers were, and then you could believe me blindly without any further inquiry. Well, this is absolutely, totally unsatisfactory for me. That's not what's going to happen. I'm a rational person, and I expect to have rational answers. And so we got word that there was a group that was getting ready to put together a politically corrected Bible that eliminated the aspects of the patriarchy, that disposed of euphemistic language, that was much more gentle and kind and easy to read. And I'm thinking, how do you do this without butchering the text? So I looked at my friends and I said, we need to do something different. We need to create a text that's going to be very difficult, impossible to read, but that is as accurate as we can possibly make it. The scripture was being manipulated and that it was being abused. And we found out some of the sources of the abuse and some of the manipulation as translators to retain the vulgar language. And this meant that the substitutions for the proper nouns, rather than the transliteration of the proper nouns, was going to be retained. And that substitution is misleading. From vulgar language comes vulgar concepts. And so this has resulted in a great deal of misleading information from the text. And some of these things are absolutely fatal flaws in English Bibles, a contradiction that is irreconcilable. There are other issues that are very large inside of these vulgar expressions that are misleading and problematic. And the greatest thing, the greatest problem of them all is the use of the words God and Lord. And these are not allowable under the text of the scripture. The scripture says, you shall not do that. You shall not do that. And the recommendation to do that came from people who are not believers in the Messiah. They're the ones who recommended that you do that. So we did a great deal of research and testing out these things. And we ultimately put the text together into the Sefer, and we try to strictly honor what is written in the underlying Hebrew or in the underlying Greek. And in doing so, we've just found, I don't know what to tell you. We have found treasures, I guess is the best way to put it. We've found hidden treasure. We've found buried treasure. We've found treasure in the walls. We found treasures just lying there, but we found treasures throughout the text. And that have just been enormous. And once this began to happen, our studies became off the wall exciting. People were bouncing with joy over the idea of what they were reading and understanding what was being said. And now part of this, though, I have to tell you, has resulted in people recognizing the mythologies that have been taught in the Christian church. And some of the people that are very steeped in deep Christian doctrine, and there are those people, they understand the nuances. There's very subtle nuances in the plan of salvation. And okay, those nuances are, and I'm not necessarily saying that we're contradicting those, but when you talk about pop culture Christianity, the pop culture Christianity does not withstand scrutiny. It just doesn't withstand scrutiny. And so we tell people, you need to come out of those ideas. You need to come out of that ideology. Now, when you were talking about, Mike, you said that this historicity of the text, one of the beliefs that I hold is that there is nothing in the archaeological record that contradicts Scripture that says Scripture is not believable. We just don't understand the Scripture well enough to see what's actually being said.